And ye shall count 7 Sabbaths of years for yourselves, 7 times 7 years. And the time of the 7 Sabbaths of years shall be to you 49 years. And then you shall cause the trumpet of the Jubilee to sound on the 10th day of the 7th month. On the day of atonement you shall make the trumpet to sound throughout all your land. And you shall consecrate the 50th year, and proclaim liberty throughout of the land to all of its inhabitants. It shall be a jubilee for you, and each of you shall return to his possession, and each of you shall return to his family. The 50th year shall be a jubilee to you. In it you shall neither sow nor reap what grows of its own accord, or gather the grapes of your untended vine. For it is the Jubilee, it shall be holy to you. You shall eat of its produce from the field. In the year of Jubilee, each of you shall return to its possession. And if you sell anything to your neighbor, or buy from your neighbor's hand, you shall not oppress one another. According to the number of years after the Jubilee, you shall buy from your neighbor, and according to the number of years of crops he shall sell to you. According to the multitude of years you shall increase its price, and according to the fewer number of years you shall diminish its price. For he sells it to you according to the number of years of crops. Therefore you shall not oppress one another, but you shall fear your God, for I am the Lord your God. That's the law of the Jubilee. I'm thinking right now how that would be a cure for all nations. Children of Israel were given the year of Jubilee before they came into the promised land. They're given instruction on how to keep the land. They're given instruction before entering the promised land, justice and mercy. And the system of Jubilee, a time of forgiving of all debts. As a matter of fact, they're told to forgive all debts every 7 years. They're supposed to forgive everything. But on the Jubilee, the 50th year, they could return to their family possessions. Now, in America and all around the world, we have escalating prices. The cost of living is escalating. A few years ago, I put a proposition to this area, where I should live in Washington State, in the United States of America, in King County, for a petition to put a cap on property taxes. But we see in California there's been amendments where there's a cap on property taxes, but that didn't stop the people from making the rent astronomically high, where people are living in their cars because they can't afford $3,000 a month for an apartment. People only make so much money a month, and only the very, very wealthy people can afford any real estate these days. People are being forced out of their homes into mobile homes, and the mobile homes wear out, and then they're homeless. It doesn't take much. You can be working as a laborer and just barely surviving, but then if you fall down on the job, you get hurt, get sick, you time off of work, your income's cut off. Next thing you know, you can't pay your bills, you go into foreclosure, you lose everything you've got. But if there was a year of Jubilee, if there was forgiving of debts, if there was mercy for the poor, there wouldn't be the homelessness that we have today. Right now, I'm thinking about how we need not only to put a cap on property taxes, but so they might have the same rate, but they evaluate the property different. What was once valued at $20,000 became valued to be $90,000. Now that $90,000 property is valued at $900,000. But though the value of the land is increased tenfold, the wages have not. And so people are in desperate straits, and the economy is falling in it. We're having economic collapse worldwide. And even in the land that's supposed to be wealthy, living's not easy. And so I'm making this video about the year of Jubilee, that we should consider, that all the nations should consider the example that Father gave to Israel, an answer for a cure for everything, that we should not oppress one another. Don't live off your, don't rent out, don't buy a piece of property and then raise the rent and then make it so that, buy up all the land so that there's no place to live unless you pay crazy rent prices. Otherwise, you have a lot of people that are homeless. And if you're homeless, you can't take a shower, you cannot work in a restaurant, you can't work in a hotel, in a lot of places you cannot work if you can't bathe regularly, if you can't get a good night's sleep, you're not very good for labor. If you're homeless, many doors are closed to you. It comes down to what I was saying about the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. But few are the rich and many are the poor. And therefore the answer I see is that year of Jubilee. We need to repent and go back to the ways of Jehovah and worldwide receive that instruction he gave for his holy people.